This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Or actually, it's not afternoon, it's good morning. Sikkim 365 Radio and also on YouTube, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, David Smoak, Jack McKenzie here today at Armstrong Sims. A little bit earlier. Obviously, we're normally live at 3 o'clock. However, the NCAA, we saw the story from Ralph Rousseau of the Associated Press earlier today. He said that the NCAA would release their findings on the Baylor football program based on the sexual assault scandal that led to the firing of head coach Art Briles, that led to the AD and Ian McCall and President Ken Starr both leaving as well, and the entire staff leaving after the 2016 season. There has been kind of the NCAA still has to flex their muscles somehow, or they'll hammer Baylor. And then again, what really was under the NCAA umbrella? Paul Catalina has read the report. The NCAA is releasing it right now on their site. Baylor will have a statement on their site at 11:30. Dr. Livingstone and also Mac Rose will have a presser, a Zoom meeting today at 1:30, and we're going to keep you in and out over the next several hours and get your reaction as a Baylor fan or college football fan on today's news. Paul?
Okay, so this report circulates around 3 instances, one of which is the sexual assault. And that was the big thing and the big news for this going forward and going around was what's going to happen with the sexual assault. Well, the NCAA essentially found that there were no impermissible benefits given to any of the incidents or changes or things that happened during the sexual assault scandal for the players, because much like the North Carolina academic scandal, the players and the student body received the same treatment. So it was an institution-wide failure. So it wasn't an impermissible benefit. So let's go through what an impermissible benefit is really
So in
quick.
other words, and it's unfortunate because obviously victims involved here, whatever happened on campus outside of athletics and the way that was treated is exactly the way anybody in athletics may have been treated based on a sexual assault type case or charge, or at least story.
An impermissible benefit is something that the regular student body does not get. Well, in this very sad case, this impermissible, or this benefit, which is a horrible way to put it, given we're talking about sexual assault, was available to everyone who may have committed a sexual assault, because the program at Baylor was run so very poorly that any student, whether it was a regular student or a student athlete, was given this. There was also and this is probably where most of the penalties come out of, there was a student-run, or not a student-run, but a Baylor-run program called the Baylor Bruins that was mostly female, and that violates a lot of the Title IX requirements. They had a dress code, and they were too late to be, to let in men, and it was, based around recruiting, and so that was part of the penalty. And then they had a student-athlete plagiarize a paper, appeal to the president. His appeal was upheld, and he got off of probation except for the fact that he had to never do it again. And then he cheated in a quiz, and then a Baylor staffer did not report that he cheated on the quiz, and they let the player play in 7 games.
Let's get to things that let's get to what has been a dark cloud for 5 or 6 years, the death penalty. For a lot of people, that was a lazy narrative. That doesn't mean that they didn't care. That doesn't mean that you didn't feel like there was maybe something else underneath all of this, enough that it was a sexual assault issue. This death penalty was not given today to Baylor University, which has been used against them now for 5 or 6 years. There is no bowl ban. That's been used against them for 5 or 6 years. There are no really losses in any scholarships. Hell, remember, in 2016, which was Art Briles' best class, they lost almost all of that class to TCU, Oklahoma State, and of course, yes, Texas got their share as well because everybody was released. Remember, then later that year, Jalen Petre's the only one that remained committed because he's pretty much the only one that was being recruited at the time. until Matt Rule arrived. There is no vacating the Big 12 titles of 13 and 14 from what I can hear or what I'm being told. And I'm telling you something, that would have been something they could have slapped in there. And it would have meant nothing going forward. There are going to be some penalties when it comes to official visits, to a certain time on the road, to things like that. But this, if you took a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say it is? 2. 2 or 2.5, 3. Because there's still penalties.
There's still penalties, but
this could have been a scale of, I thought, this is me only because the NCAA, in my opinion, has always been about the time you forget about them or about the time you don't think they have any clout, they hammer somebody like Stephen F. Austin. But Kansas or LSU in basketball, it continues to just kind of like nothing happens. So this could have been a very bad day. When I saw the report, and I talked to Ralph Rousseau of the Associated Press, Paul, earlier today, and I said, can you tell me, talk to Max Olson today and others today, was on the Big 12 radio network with Ari and Dave today. I just always felt like for some reason they would just like, pap. I mean, like more than just a slap on the wrist. If you look at the terminology of NCAA type investigations, that doesn't mean that Baylor didn't do some things wrong. Yes, there was the sexual assault story that hangs over them even to this day. But when it comes to football terms, this is probably a day where there's a lot of people in the football program, the athletic department, and Baylor fan base that are taking a big sigh of relief. Would you agree?
Yes. And what this boils down to is the sexual assault scandal was widespread and all over the campus. Well, the NCAA investigates impermissible benefits. There were no impermissible benefits when it came to sexual assault, which is, I mean, it's hard for me to even get those words out of my mouth because it's so bizarre and awful that you'd even say it. But this boils down to the Baylor Bruins recruiting program that was a female-dominated group that violated NCAA rules and a player cheating on a test. That's what it boils down to, these penalties, which are, and Armstrong, can you put up the graphic?
Yeah.
A $5,000 fine, 4 years of probation, a bunch of different recruiting things, 30 official visits, 3-week ban on unofficial visits, 2-week ban on recruiting, which is all during this academic year, 2021-2022. A reduction of football evaluation days by 3 during fall 2021, which I'm guessing that means practice. Football evaluation, I guess. I don't know. And by 10 during spring, so maybe they have a shorter spring this year. A 5-year show cause order for the former director of football ops. So anybody, if this person wanted to get a job in the NCAA, he couldn't do it really. And then a vacation of records in which student athletes competed while ineligible. But that, might be up in the air because we don't know what student, who cheated and all this stuff and when exactly it was. But it's 7 contests, they're saying, in the report.
There's a lot of things when it comes to the timing or visits and all that. They can get through that. Believe me, Baylor's already been through quite a bit of that. And yes, before any of you jump all over us about, hey, listen, what about the victims? That is in the courtroom. That is in the courtroom. That is right now legally wherever it is based on the various lawsuits or whatever. That now is in the courtroom, which is where it always should have been, honestly. So if you're Dave Aranda and you're Mac Rhodes and you are Dr. Livingston and you are whoever you are, you have to I would think that you only get 2 hours of notice before the NCAA posts their findings up on their site, which was about 5 or 10 minutes ago. You as a school, I don't care whose school you're talking about, you get 2 hours to read it, digest it, get your attorneys to look at it, and then Baylor will respond today with a statement of their own on their website at 11:30.
Well, they've released the letter, and it's basically they're just kind of repeating for people, their people what they just said, and
one of the other things that I've been asked about the Art Briles part of this. No show cause for Art Briles.
No
show cause for a former football operations director who's no longer with the program and hasn't been since Pepper Hamilton. But the Art Briles story now, which I know some of you will go, okay, wait a minute, because he has not really coached other than Italy and at Mount Vernon High School. This could possibly open the door for him down the road. because there's no show cause. If there had been a show cause for 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, then whoever was interested in him, and we know that has not been very many, would have to show a reason why he should be able to coach again. This could, and that is a part of this, Paul, because that's a major part of the story.
Absolutely.
That they were cheating and they were handing out money. And remember this is a big day as well. Despite all of what is the overriding story, it's a big day for that coaching staff and Art Briles that they were not caught up in any kind of obvious or any kind of documented NCAA violations.
No, and look, they were stepping, and I'm not trying to let anybody off the hook who did anything wrong, but look, basically what this report says is that, I mean, any coach that would have stepped into that program, Baylor's handling of sexual assault top to bottom was unacceptable and tragic and terrible, and a university-wide failure. University-wide means the whole university, not just 85 kids in the football program. I mean, that's not what that is. And so there was a problem. There's a problem on college campuses all over the world. When it comes to sexual assault. Baylor became the poster child for it because what they did in handling it was so bad. They were so bad at it. But in the 5 years since that's happened, they've implemented many different things. They have very strong leadership in Linda Livingstone and Mac Rhodes. So they would like to, and I think they've probably become, in a lot of regards, maybe the poster child for this is how you respond to something by admitting every single thing you did wrong.
Right.
And that's what they've done pretty much the whole time is, I know that there's probably some people saying, well, I'm suing them and they have not admitted everything they've done wrong. I get that. But as far as addressing the issues going forward so it doesn't happen again, I think that it's been a lot better. I don't know. I've not experienced it firsthand. It never will. But, it's all seemed better.
Yeah, no, I would think you mentioned on a scale of 1 to 10, you said 2, 2.5. I would say probably 2.5, 3. From Paula, can you define what the 4 years of probation means? I'll try to do that. That means they're going to be monitored for the next 4 years. It's like somebody who's released but is still someone that whoever's monitoring. That also means if you step back in it or you create other issues that are not good, if there are scandals in this next 4 years that relate to Baylor, then yes, the NCAA, whoever they might be in 4 years or during that time, can come back and change what they release today. Paula, thanks for the text today. Also, the 817, as an incoming freshman at Baylor, a punishment would hurt beyond belief since me and others in my class were in 7th grade when all this happened. We'll be the one feeling the punishment for all the actions of people we never met, and that's painful. The 817, now you know what is out there, and so you can take a deep sigh of relief and move on and enjoy your time at Baylor. Also from Scotty B. It's beyond time for the NCAA to rule this stuff. It's not a bowl ban, no scholarship reductions. And again, as I mentioned, I agree, Scotty, no question about it. Basically, Baylor, they're on a 4-year probation. They've been on probation for 5 years. They have been. They lost most of their class of 16. They basically somehow gutted out a class in 17, thanks to Jalen Petrie being the one, and then Matt Rule finding a way to put together that class, and then 18, and we now know their story. So they've really been on probation, so it's going to be about a decade. And guess how many people, guess how many opposing coaches, some that are no longer a part of the Big 12 and some that are, have said, you can't play there, you shouldn't play there, they won't be able to be in bowl games. They're going to get the death penalty, death penalty, death penalty. The death penalty can go to hell. It's not happening because Baylor today found out now officially from the NCAA where they are, and now we'll be able to get the reaction from the president and also Mac Rhodes here today at 1:30.
Yeah, and the NCAA is having a conference call as well, which I can't imagine is going to go really well for them. But again, you look at this, and this comes down to a student cheating on a test and an academic advisor telling a football operations staffer, and that staffer not reporting it to anybody is what it came down to. Because had that been reported to Art Briles, I would think, that would have maybe been the thing on Art Briles, but nothing's here on Briles or the staff. And so That's going to change a ton of things in this narrative for him going forward, in that there's no show cause. So maybe somebody can give him a job so that he can try to redeem himself, which I think he fully deserves as a human being. I think we all deserve that. I think this is really good news for Baylor. And this, like all these, less than so many recruiting, blah, 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 blah. Look, we just went through a COVID year where there were no official visits at all. Your official visits were on Zoom, for God's sakes. So, I mean, is that going to sting them really hard? No. A $5,000 fine? I mean,
yeah, no. I was on the Big 12 radio network with Ari and Dave, and they were asking me, well, maybe there's a $5 million fine or something like that. And also, by the way, let's not forget, and I know this has nothing to do with the NCAA investigation, but it does. But when we had Bob Bowlesby on the show earlier, in July at the Big 12 Media Days, guess what he told us? That, in October or whenever it is later on this fall, which a lot of you want to know about, the money that the Big 12 withheld from Baylor, he's recommending to the council, the Big 12, that money be released back into the hands of Baylor. That's also, remember, since the summer of 2016, been withheld from them as well.
Here's the thing, though. Now knowing this, if I'm the NCAA and I've taken all these losses that they have, I would have released this back in, was it June that we thought it was going to happen?
Yeah.
Back in June, because you could have just slid this in the middle of all the other, things that were going on and moved on. And that's why they didn't. And Bob Bowlesby even told us that. It was like, I suspect the reason it's gotten delayed is that they maybe got out over their skis in the early part of this. You're saying, this is going to be the NCAA, they stood up there like this. Ha ha ha, we'll defeat this. And this is, this is not what people are going to think it is. And in this report, which is available on Sikkim 365, and it's on the NCAA's website, or will be. In this report, you can read all the things they said, that they looked into impermissible benefits with regard to sexual assault. And tragically, Baylor's...
Which is what we kind of knew from the beginning. This was across the board, epic failure across the board on the campus about sexual assault. Here's the response from Baylor.
Yeah. So, they're a proud member institution, and they are, better off than they are now, and you can read all that there, and that's their response. I'll compare this. I think the best comparable thing is the North Carolina widespread academic scandal. They had some gimme easy A classes that you could register for online, and they were widely populated with student athletes because they were, classes that people were cheating in and getting easy A's. Well, most people thought it was classes set up for the athletes. Well, no, everybody on campus was doing it, so not an impermissible benefit. This is much more tragic than cheating on a test or cheating in a class, in that the impermissible benefit was Baylor, was supposedly helping out players and keeping them out of the justice system at the school because of sexual assault. Well, no, pretty much everybody was out of the justice system when it came to sexual assault. And I can tell you, as one of the few members of the media who covered every day of Sam Ukuwachu's trial, that was evident on the witness stand when the representative from Baylor was up there, and she really had no idea. And it's not really any fault of hers. Most of the things that student discipline handles at the university is, Smokey snuck a bottle of Malibu rum into the dorm and got caught, or somebody was in their girlfriend's room past curfew. Those are the things that happen, not federal offenses that can wind somebody in jail for 50 years. And then all of a sudden this lady has to adjudicate that. Well, she doesn't have any expertise in that. She can't subpoena anything. She can't do a DNA test. She can't analyze a rape kit. And she just has to go, hey, did you do this? No. Did he do this? Yeah. Who do I believe more? I mean, that's all that they could do. So how is a university supposed to even handle this? They're not. The cops are. And that's what universities need to be doing. And Baylor is the poster child for this, in that they were just kind of taking these responses and putting them in a pile, because how do they know what to do with them?
From the 217, and we'll take a couple of more of your texts. If you want to call, we'll take a couple of calls, and we're going to break. hear from Baylor, the response on their website, and eventually come in and out over the next couple of hours until we start again live today at 3. By the way, from the 217, what's the NCAA's current purpose? Serious question. Why are they here? Why are they there? To arrange championships and hand out trophies. That's kind of what it's become. And to screw up that even then, too. Because their power over programs, and they have levied some heavy-duty penalties over the years, but their power is fading. And a lot of that you can blame on either the fact the legal system made it more difficult or the fact that they're kind of a mess. Let's go to some of the chat. Just kind of fire away. Nathan, surprise stream. Yes, we're doing this because the report came out. We had no idea. I did a lot of my due diligence, as Paul did, as Jack and Armstrong, Craig, Brian, Ashley, Colt, about what we might hear. And we didn't know. This could have been a day that is a dark day for Baylor. And I know it's been a tough time. They deserved a lot of it. But today, based on the findings and the penalties, is a day in which Baylor can now move on. And so many that were hoping, wanting, and almost needing for their own their own emotions, Baylor and being hammered by the NCAA did not happen. And I'm going to say this one more time, because somebody just asked me this on a direct message. Isn't this about the victims? That is being handled in court. There were some bad things that happened across the university campus, like there is on every campus in America. That is being held, and Baylor has been gutted basically the last 5 years since Pepper Hamilton in May 26th of 2016. Let's see. Do we know who the ineligible player is? We don't know that name. We have an idea, but we don't know for sure. There was a player or two that seemed to be in and out of being eligible around the, what was it, Paul, 15 or 16? Mm-hmm. 15 and 16. Also from Scott, it's just one player involved. Art Briles as a recruit. The only recruit left that Art Briles was Raleigh Tejada. Now, Jalen Petrie was being recruited, by the way. Yeah. He was already committed to them. Matt, this sounds like a soft punishment to me. Glad it's finally over. From Tim, well, this is a surprise. From Nathan, this makes me think LSU is going to get off easy as well.
Well, by the time LSU gets into the thing, the NCAA will have a new governance structure. And because that's what's happening now, like I don't think we'll hear about Kansas for a good long while now, because the NCAA is going to meet this fall on changing their governance structure. And
you know who's on that committee? Dr. Livingstone.
Yeah. So now, if I'm the NCAA, like whatever stuff I've got that's final, I'm going to release it and wait for the storm to pass and say everything's changing. Because if you've got a big thing like Kansas could be potentially big, LSU is potentially really big, depending on how much of this, again, is this the same thing? Is Louisiana State University doing the same thing that Baylor University was, in that the way that they handle sexual assault from top to bottom with the student body, is it just this tragic, which is highly likely because it's that way a lot of places. And, do they really not have a leg to stand on, or when the NCAA comes to, punishing people. So I don't know, but I think they'll hold off on the governance structure until it's all reworked, and then you'll see something different, because I would not risk anything other than the NCAA, because they've lost way too many lawsuits in the last 5-10 years.
From Uncultured Barbarian. God, I love that name on the chat. Ever since the NCAA hit the death penalty on SMU, they've shied away from using it on college programs. Ron Stern, who's upset, ridiculous. They should get the death penalty, allowing all that abuse to go on just to keep winning. Ron, you need to listen to us. You need to carefully listen to us, because I've always thought from day one, death penalty was a lazy narrative from only those who hoped that Baylor would go down. Matt, even Baylor fans know this is pathetic. $5,000. Also from Jennifer, I'm so happy to move on from this, Jennifer. That's for the courts to decide when it comes to the sexual assault cases. From Nathan, Tech is going to pounce on Briles. That is a possibility, especially now with today's ruling. James M., this is embarrassing. The NCAA is a joke. Let's see.
Well, they were a joke before this.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, if you've paid attention to what the NCAA can actually do, post Penn State, So they tried to hammer Penn State, right? And Penn State deserved every punishment that they got. Absolutely. But what the NCAA's bylaws state that they can do is not what that's why Penn State won their lawsuit. That's why all these other people won their lawsuit, because the NCAA was trying to do things that they had no rights in their bylaws to do. Is it right? Is it ethical? I don't know. But the NCAA is supposed to investigate impermissible benefits. That's what they're investigating. When it comes to crimes, they don't have subpoena power. The NCAA can't subpoena anything. Like, you, as a member institution, you have to agree to turn over things to them and allow them to investigate. But when it comes to criminal cases, as a person who's been charged, if I'm charged with a crime, the NCAA cannot come and subpoena anything from me. They don't have subpoena power. The state does.
Right.
The government does. They're not the government.
And I'm glad that's why you're a part of right now what we have. Also from Matt. No, hold on. This is from C. Rogers. Baylor's had more punishment in the last 6 years than NCAA could ever pass out. Did bad things happen? Yes. Was it any worse than basically any other school? No. Semantics. Now, I did get this question, and I just answered this question from Mark Anderson. First call Baylor needs to make is the Big 12 demanding their money back. All right, I'm going to say this one more time. This ruling today has no effect on whether they were going to get their money back. That was a timeline. It's like a calendar. One day after another, 1 month after another, 1 year after another. And this fall is when the timeline of the Big 12 money that's been withheld was going to then be recommended to return to Baylor. And Bob Bowlesby, the Big 12 commissioner, told you, told Craig, told me at Big 12 Media Days that he will, in fact, make that recommendation. From Nate, he shouldn't have a dollar fine if you settled on $5,000, which just seems to be almost crazy. Uncultured barbarian, NCAA is a joke. Let's see here. USA gave up a title, a Heisman scholarship for paying players, and Baylor covered up rape and assaults is worse, and this is all they get. It took them 5 years, Miles, to come up with this decision. 5 years. I want to tell you, in my opinion, Paul, you agree with me or not? I know we had a call too. I think the NCAA went into this investigation thinking they would find, my God, so many smoking guns. And then they got into the middle of it. And they didn't find much. And they were under enormous amount of social media, national pressure. Kill them. Kill them. Burn them. Burn them to the ground, as somebody today lazily said on their Twitter feed when they heard that the report was coming out. Burn people who were at the university to the ground who were never here when all that happened. I think the NCAA delayed this as long as they possibly could until finally they had to say, hey, we got to do something here, because Baylor had been under this now for 5 years. I think the NCAA waited as long as they possibly could because they knew there was not much they could actually do here because of the semantics, the attorney, the legal part, all of that.
Well, and look, what they found was the university top to bottom had a lot of problems, none of which they are allowed to prosecute. And guess what? Baylor's had countless lawsuits. 5 to 10 of them that are still out there that they've had to settle or go to trial or whatever. They've had countless lawsuits. The state of Texas has come down on Baylor. The federal government has come down on Baylor because of the university, not the athletic department.
Right.
The NCAA can only look into things that have to do with the athletic department. They can't punish Baylor University. If Baylor University had no athletics and this was still going on, it would still be the government's role to punish them, not the NCAA. So you got to think about it that way. And yeah, I mean, is it a seemingly light punishment for people who on the outside see there was this widespread university-wide sexual assault problem? Yeah, it seems kind of light from the outside looking in. But when you get into the details of it, you know, when it comes down to impermissible benefits and what Baylor was doing, it's a nothing burger.
We're going to take a break here. Let's take a call, take a break. Baylor's about to release their statement on there. They already have. We've read that part of that. Then we're going to take a break. We're on live 3 to 6 today. The president and AD at Baylor will speak at 1:30 in a Zoom meeting We'll have that as well, and also our own guest list and response from you.
All right, let's go to Stephen in Virginia. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. I just want to first say that I'm really grateful for Paul Catalina today on this show, because Paul said about 3 things that I was going to really hope people say. The Penn State and what happened with that is why Baylor cannot get hammered. And I've heard a couple of angry text messages about people that are upset about what happened to Baylor. And to those people, I think you're just upset that Baylor is beating your team, because these campus-wide problems are happening everywhere across America. The same way that I'm sure that they were mad at SMU for paying players when every single school in Texas was doing the same thing. But in reality, I'd just like to say I'd appreciate that everyone at Baylor has done to clean up what's happened. And as somebody who finally feels like he can say this, I'm happy for Art Briles today. I hope Coach Briles coach again. And I appreciate Coach Rule, and I appreciate Mac Rhodes and Dr. Livingstone. And I'm really happy that we're here and that it's over, and that 5 years or 6 years of toxicity can be put to bed and we can move forward, and that the NCAA on their way out of relevance didn't kill Baylor and their chance to join a Power 4 conference.
Yeah.
Stephen, thanks for the call. You're right. Art Briles today, you would think, is a green light. Now, still a university has to still want to do that. Can they then handle? Because that's really been most of the issue, is the show cause or maybe the possibility of backlash. And that's happened with a few of the opportunities he's had, even as a consultant with the Cleveland Browns. But you would think now that if a high school superintendent in Mount Vernon can handle the backlash and get through 2 years of it and stay loyal, then a college or a university president and AD can do the same thing, but that remains to be seen.
Well, and the backlash lasted for about an hour.
Yeah, no, it's social
honestly,
media at its best, and it's like a very small percentage of the country, and people react to it as if that is 100% of the country.
Yeah. All right, one more call, and then we'll wrap here. Matt in Houston, thanks for your call.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Hey, I appreciate y'all's coverage of this, and I think all the points being made are great. One thing, though, I just find it interesting, as of a couple minutes ago, you look on ESPN, nothing, right? There's no articles, there's no mention of this. And to me, it shows the hypocrisy, because obviously if there would have been a death penalty or some type of major penalty, I mean, it would have been front page. And I to the last caller's point of putting it to bed, I mean, the fact is people are always going to hate our school. And, I mean, we can move forward, we can put it behind us and move on. But there's always going to be that perception out there. So I just, it's just, we're moving forward. This is just the way the world works, right? People want to hate. People want to, they want to see us fail. And but I think it's a good day. But again, with the victims in mind, there's just really no great outcome. But
right.
This is something to keep us moving forward and move on.
Thanks for the call. Are you relieved?
I am. I mean, I know we all want to move forward, and there's always going to be people who are going to bring up stuff, and they're always going to hate. But I think it's a relief, and I think that, again, it's a day where we can look back and say, hey, you know what? As a university, they've cleaned up a lot, and we can be, we can be relieved. We can, it's two sides of the coin, right? You can have sympathy for the victims, but you can also look forward and be excited about what's to come in the future for Baylor University.
All right. Thanks for your time. Appreciate your call. All right. We normally are live 3 to 6. We thought that based on today's news, because we really did not know what the NCAA was going to release, and had it been awful, we would be here. Had it been hammer time, we would have been here. And so what we're going to do now is take a little bit of a break. We'll come back again at some point, 1:30. Baylor AD and president will talk in a Zoom meeting. We'll have part of that. And then we'll go full throttle with you probably right after that's over up until 6 o'clock. David Smoak, Paul Catalina. Thanks to Jack McKenzie and Armstrong Sims. Thanks to a lot of you that jumped on YouTube, 365 Sports, in the chat, the text, and the calls. Back in a moment, or we'll let you know soon. I'll put it up on Twitter as well, on Sick on 365 Radio.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.